Let's analyze the word yatim, yatama, yatame, using the Quran as its own dictionary to determine whether it refers only to orphans, as sectarians claim, or has a broader meaning related to those who lack support and protection in society. Step 1. Examining the root of yatim. The word yatim comes from the root yet-temim, YTM, which carries the meaning of being alone, isolated, or lacking something essential. In classical Arabic, yatim was not limited to a child whose parents had died. It could also refer to a person without protection or social backing, someone who lacks support financially, emotionally, or physically, the weak and vulnerable in a given society. Thus, the core concept of yatim is being without guardianship, care, or support. Step 2. Analyzing Quranic usage of yatim. To understand the Quranic meaning of yatim, let's analyze key verses where the word appears. 1. Surah Al-Baqarah 2. They ask you about the yatama. Say, improving their condition is best, and if you mix with them, then they are your brothers. And Allah knows the corrupter from the reformer. The verse encourages supporting yatama by integrating them into society rather than isolating them. The phrase, they are your brothers, if you were your brother, suggests inclusivity rather than focusing on mere biological orphanhood. This aligns with the idea that yatim refers to the vulnerable and unsupported, not just children without parents. Surah An-Nisa 4:3. And if you fear that you will not be just to the yatama, then marry what is good for you of women 2, 3, or 4. The yatama here are linked to justice, care, and responsibility. The verse does not mention parentless children directly. Instead, it refers to people who are under one's protection and may be socially or economically vulnerable. 3. Surah Al-Duha 93:6. Did he not find you yatim and give you shelter? Analysis. The Quran describes the Nabi, bringer of news, as a yatim before receiving guidance. This does not necessarily mean he was an orphan. Rather, it implies that he lacked social power, status, or protection before being given divine support. This further supports the interpretation that yatim refers to someone without a support system, not just a child without parents. 4. Surah Al-Insan 6:8, and they give food, despite their love for it, to the miskin, the yatim, and the captive. Analysis. The yatim is mentioned alongside the miskin, needy, and captives, those without freedom. This context suggests that yatim refers to a category of socially or economically disadvantaged people, not just children without parents. Step 3. Applying this understanding to modern society. If we use the Quran's definition of yatim as those who lack support and protection, then modern asylum seekers, refugees, and displaced individuals all fall under this category. Examples of yatim today: refugees fleeing war who have lost their homes and communities, orphans who lack parental care, displaced individuals with no financial or social support, people abandoned by society, such as the homeless, those with no legal identity, or those persecuted by oppressive governments, migrant workers and laborers who are exploited with no legal rights or protection. Conclusion: sectarian misinterpretation. Sectarian scholars have narrowed the meaning of yatim to only mean orphans, limiting its real Quranic meaning of all those lacking social support. This distortion has reduced the Quran's social justice message, allowing corrupt rulers and religious elites to ignore the rights of refugees, displaced people, and the oppressed. The Quranic yatim refers to all who are left vulnerable without support, not just parentless children. Would you like to analyze other related terms, such as miskin, the needy, or ibn as-sabil, traveler wayfarer, to further uncover how the Quran defines vulnerable groups? Let's now analyze miskin askabil, ibn sabil, using the Quran as its own dictionary. These words are commonly mistranslated and misused by sectarians to fit their legalistic frameworks while ignoring their deeper Quranic meanings. Miskin, Who are the truly needy? Root analysis. The word miskin comes from the root skn, which conveys meanings related to stillness, immobility, fez, and lack of. This suggests that a miskin is someone who is unable to improve their situation due to external circumstances. Quranic usage of miskin, Surah Al-Kahf, 18-79. As for the boat, it belonged to miskin people who worked at sea, and I wanted to damage it because a king was seizing every good ship by force. Analysis. The miskin here are not homeless beggars. They are working people, but still vulnerable to oppression. This contradicts sectarian claims that miskin means only those who have nothing. The true miskin are those who, despite working hard, are still stuck in a powerless situation. 2. Surah Al-Ma'arij 2025, and those in whose wealth is a recognized right for the asker and the miskin. Analysis. The miskin is distinct from the sa'il, asker beggar. This suggests that the miskin may not even be able to ask for help, meaning they suffer in silence. This applies to modern low-wage workers, those living paycheck to paycheck, and those unable to voice their struggles. Surah Al-Baqarah, to charity is for the miskin who are restricted in the cause of Allah and cannot move about in the land seeking provision. The ignorant think they are self-sufficient because they do not ask, but you will recognize them by their mark. Analysis. This confirms that miskin are not necessarily beggars, but rather those who lack the ability to change their economic situation. They are socially invisible, meaning society does not recognize their struggles. Modern examples of miskin today. Underpaid workers trapped in economic hardship despite working full-time, single parents struggling to support families alone, disabled individuals who cannot earn a living, elderly people abandoned by family or society, oppressed people who are stuck in a situation with no way out. 2. Ibn as-Sabil, the wayfarer or the disconnected. Root analysis, the phrase Ibn as-Sabil literally means son of the road path. Ibn means child offspring, but in Quranic Arabic, it also means someone belonging to a category or dependent on something. Sabil means pathway, route, or means, referring to a journey or state of transition. Quranic usage of Ibn as-Sabil. 1. Surah Al-Baqarah. Righteousness is giving to the near of kin, the yatama, the miskin, the Ibn as-Sabil, and those who ask. Analysis. Ibn as-Sabil is listed separately from miskin and sa'il, beggar. This means that an Ibn as-Sabil is not necessarily poor, but is in a state of need due to being disconnected from their usual support system. 2. Surah At-Taub 9:60. Charity is for the miskin, the Ibn as-Sabil, and those in debt. Analysis. The Ibn as-Sabil is grouped with debtors and those in hardship. This suggests that Ibn as-Sabil refers to someone who is away from their home, community, or resources and is struggling to survive. Modern examples of Ibn as-Sabil today: refugees and asylum seekers who have left their homes due to war or persecution, migrants and displaced people looking for work in a foreign land, travelers or commuters who have been stranded without resources, runaways or abandoned individuals who have nowhere to go. Conclusion. How sectarians distorted these words. 1. Sectarianism narrows miskin to only absolute poverty. Quranic miskin includes all those stuck in vulnerable situations, even if they have jobs. Sectarians limited miskin to only those who have nothing, allowing the rich to ignore systemic oppression and economic injustice. The Quran demands justice for the working poor, but sectarians use their distortion to only focus on extreme poverty while ignoring the everyday struggles of the oppressed. 2. Sectarians reduced Ibn as-Sabil to just travelers. The Quranic Ibn as-Sabil is not just a tourist or traveler, it is anyone who is disconnected from their support system. Sectarians reduce this term to only stranded travelers, ignoring refugees, migrants, and displaced people who are struggling. Final thoughts. Returning to the Quran's social justice message. By restoring the real Quranic meanings of these words, we see how the Quran calls for a much broader, deeper social justice system. Miskin, those struggling in society, even if they are not homeless. Ibn as-Sabil, those who have been displaced or disconnected from their means of support. Yatim, those without protection or guardianship, not just orphans. Would you like to analyze another Quranic word related to social justice or economic fairness, such as fakir, needy, or sadaqah, charity?